Hello and welcome to a gameplay for all seasons. On this channel we are talking all about Hogwarts Legacy. We cover theories, news if there is any, updates, general discussion, all and everything around Hogwarts Legacy we talk about on this channel. If that's interesting to you, I would highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button. Now on today's video I want to talk about friends and enemies, and more specifically NPCs. Now this is the theories and general discussions around Hogwarts Legacy, because very recently, last couple of days, we were hoping to get news and we haven't got any. So all we can talk about at the moment is some general discussion, but there's some pretty interesting things we can cover, right? And one of those is NPCs. So let's get into this then. So effectively, I see there could be up to 3 likely ways how you can have your friends and enemies in Hogwarts Legacy. Now the first of these is you'd effectively have a preset set of friends dependent on which house you're in. Now that kind of makes sense, right? Because if we think about the Harry Potter series, he was in Gryffindor, and who were almost all of his friends? They were in Gryffindor as well. And obviously he didn't go on well with Slytherins, they were in it a lot. But there wasn't that many friends and enemies from Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. It was very much centralised in his house. So to me, it makes sense that if you're in Gryffindor, the majority of your friends would be there. If you're in Hufflepuff, the majority of your friends would be there, etc, etc. Enemies, maybe it is in different particular houses, but it'd be nice if that mixes around depending on which house you're in. Now, the only picture we've currently seen in anything that points at all to having NPCs who can be your friends is probably that scene in the courtyard where a witch puts out a hand and a broom shoots up into her hand. Something about that scene to me, and I know in other comments I've seen on my videos as well, suggests she may be an NPC character. So it could be that if you were in Hufflepuff, she would be the character who would be one of your friends. Now, the second way that friends and enemies can work is they could just be completely preset. So maybe there's a certain amount, maybe 3 who are going to be your friends, 3 are going to be enemies, whatever it's going to be. Those are voice characters, and maybe if you're in Hufflepuff, maybe they're in Hufflepuff as well, or they move to Gryffindor. Personally, that seems a bit weird that they'd move them between house, but if they're going to get people to voice these characters, maybe it's irrelevant which house you're in and you'll be friends across the houses, which is potentially something that could happen. However, like I say, looking at the Harry Potter series, it seems more like really they do quite stick to their houses when it comes to friends. Obviously, the exception, Luna Lovegood was an exception. She was in Ravenclaw. Now, the third way, and this is my preferential way, and the way I would be very excited if I went down this approach, and maybe this is a little bit like Shadow of War and the Nemesis system. So in this context, that would be where you are effectively driving who your friends or enemies are. And the way you'd be doing that would be dependent on who you speak to, who you're nice to. That way you'd get absolute freedom within your house. And if they don't have specific characters who are going to be your friends and enemies or companions, whatever you want to call them, I think that'd be a great way to do it. And Shadow of War does that. But obviously that is a different type of game. This is going to be a heavily story-driven, narrative-driven RPG, which creates different challenges to Shadow of War. But if they did do that, this will be a really exciting approach to it. Now, this doesn't mean, of course, that you only interact with friends and enemies. There will be, I'm sure, plenty of missions who have characters, and it doesn't really matter which house you're in. But for your friends, your enemies, companions you can bring along, the people who you have minor runnings within the school, which obviously there should be that, see all the time in the Harry Potter series, then I believe they could go for this approach if they wanted to. Hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video.